And we're
All
live.
right. We are live. Okay, so hello everybody who will be watching this podcast anytime, anywhere in the world. I'm glad that you came to found this podcast, and this podcast is created to be an inspiration for you to grow, to learn more, and to understand bartending industry and bartending profession from a bigger point of view. So that's why I'm always try to invite really great guests to my podcast who really made a lot of in bartending and who really had a very interesting bartending journey and achieved a lot. So we really have a lot to tell, and these people are really an inspiration for myself, and I'm sure it's really a big inspiration for everybody who is watching this podcast. And today I'm really excited and I'm really glad to have this amazing guest on my podcast. I believe that many of you might know this person, or maybe somebody don't know. So uh, I don't. I know Daniel for some time. I will tell a short story how we met before introducing you more. So everything happened, I think, in 2014 or 15, something like that. For 14, 14, yeah. It was a Havana club bartending competition, and we met in Havana, in Cuba, and it was a world championship from each country. I think it was representing Netherlands. Yes.
I was the Dutch champion.
Yeah, Netherlands. I was representing Lithuania, and we met there. So, and I really remember he was one of those person that really stuck in my head. He was loud. He was the one, he was the one who talks a lot. So that's
Nothing
why
has changed. Nothing has changed.
nothing has changed. Great. So that's what I really need on this podcast. People who has what to tell and can tell that. So and 6 years passed. We met a couple times through that time with Daniel, and today I'm really excited to have this amazing podcast with him and to present this amazing person to you, because Daniel achieved a lot. He was working. Okay, I won't tell nothing. You will tell that. So, and today Daniel is one of the most influential people in the world in bar industry. And let's don't be shy. It is Daniel. You achieved a lot, and you are. I don't know which number, 36 or 34 now. I
Uh,
don't know, but it
it's
doesn't.
up there. Yeah,
Sorry, which number is that?
I think it's 34.
34. So it's a huge achievement. You are the number 34 person most influential in the bar industry. That's it's
I,
great. I
I,
mean,
I'm,
not getting.
sorry. Go on.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to say, not getting too deep into that. It might be, but it's still an achievement. People recognize you, and people know, and your opinion and what you say and what you do is really important. Maybe not to everybody, but definitely to many people, and that's important. And so I already said the name of the person, and it's written. So I'm really glad to present to you guys Danil Nevsky. Now, he's. I was thinking how to say that. So you are the first independent bartender, and is that what I read? Yeah, that's what I read in your website, I think. That
So,
you're presenting yourself as the first independent bartender. And what the hell that is, we will know, I guess, through this podcast. So I'm not going to explain that because I don't know. I'm just saying what I think I read somewhere. Okay. So okay, Danil Nevsky,
thank you very
ladies
much.
and gentlemen. Sorry?
Thank you very much for introducing me. Hello, everybody who wants to watch this and who's here right now and later watching this afterwards.
Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful words, Istis. And yes, we have met a long time ago. Nothing has changed. I still talk a lot. I think the only reason that anyone listens is because I have a very loud voice, so I can talk a lot, and it's very hard to get away from me. So
You see,
yes.
I didn't run away from you. 6 years past, I'm still catching you.
Island, so there's not much you can go unless you're good at swimming. You didn't go far. You're in Miami, so it's not like you ran away. That you didn't leave that far.
No, I left to Lithuania and then just, it was a trip. So Danil, I want to start from the beginning. Now, as I already told to everybody, it's not a secret. You are number 34 of most influential people in the bar industry, and a bunch of other achievements. But I just think this one is really one of the great achievements. But it didn't happen overnight. So how everything started? How. I would like to know, because this podcast are inspirational for people who might, especially in these times, in coronavirus times, or who are just starting, or who just choosing a career, or who wants to change a career, and thinking, what is a bartender? You just pour drinks, that's it. So maybe doesn't sound nice or something. And how did you start? How did you start in this industry, and how everything went to the point where you are today? And then I would really like to know about that.
So our podcast will be 7 hours long.
Sorry?
So our podcast will be 7 hours long.
Then we will make seven chapters.
Okay. All right. So let's you had 2 questions there. First of all, where did we start? How did we get where we are? And lastly, you said a bartender just pours drinks. What's very interesting, I want to sort of touch
No. I just wanted to say that there are a lot of people who think that bartender just pours drinks, and even bartenders think like that. So that's what I want to know, all your journey and where you are right now.
Yes.
What's possible to achieve?
I understand. I completely understand.
Okay.
I'm going to add to that phrase where essentially, a bartender in a way just pours drinks. And it's funny because as you grow, imagine it like a circle, right? As you grow, you become better, faster, stronger, more knowledgeable, cocktail competitions, bar shows, books, maybe magazines, something. In most influential worlds, 50, blah, 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 blah. And then you come back to this point in your life where you're like, man, I'm just pouring drinks, so it all comes really full circle a little bit.
Okay.
In terms of where it all began in Scotland. So by birth, I'm from Russia, everybody's favorite country in the world politically, very popular with the Baltic states specifically. I don't know why, but as it happened, my parents moved when I was very young after the Soviet Union fucked everything up and collapsed. There was a lot of really hard times for my parents. And I was born just before it collapsed.
Okay.
And so I was a baby. And during that time, I don't know, maybe your parents are the same. Everybody just tried to do whatever to earn some money, to stay alive, to eat, any way they can to just do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that my parents did was they left Russia and they moved to Ukraine, right in the West. And my dad was in a business of contraband. So they would cross the Ukrainian border, they would go to Poland through Hungary, they would call Moscow and they would say, hey, what Western vodka are we selling today? And they would say, Absolute. And they'll go, okay, guys, stick the Absolute label. And they would drop back. Cigarettes, perfumes, anything.
Okay. That's also interesting story, but maybe with your father we will make.
So what happened was, I guess you could say that my story with alcohol started from when my dad had a camion, as they call it, and they would just drive it and sell it, and that's how they made money. But that wasn't a very safe job, and at that time, that wasn't a very, not a very respected job, really, either, because there was a lot of associations with gangsters and mafia and blah, blah, blah.
Wow. So those times.
So my dad, because he had a family, was like, you know what, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. He sold everything, and then we through using the money from the company that he was a part of, he paid off everybody you could pay off, and we emigrated to the UK, to London. I was 7.5, 8. And can you imagine going from having your dad and mom have an apartment, they both have jobs, dad is not so cool, mom's legal and good, finance, and now your dad is a construction worker and a carpenter, and your mother is a cleaner in a bank. You know, you've gone back to like the bottom of society. So I learned the value of money very quickly, like even a little bit. And I learned the value of communication. If you could, you know, I learned the English language pretty quickly. I'm very good at languages, actually. And as a result, it was the more people can understand you, the better everything becomes simpler. The communication is probably the most valuable tool, even for a bartender. So I guess everything in my life slowly led me down the path of hospitality, because I studied acting when I was younger, which helps a lot behind the bar.
Oh, definitely.
I wanted to go into theater originally, and when what happened was, why Scotland was my mother. She used to work in the oil and gas industry, so while she was in the UK and we got our passports, she got a job in Scotland. Because of her old Soviet degree, we moved there, and at the age of 15, when I moved to Scotland with my family, I had no friends. I had nothing. London at the time was 7 million people. Aberdeen, Scotland was 200,000 people. Tiny city, but very wealthy. And people love to drink. People had lots of money to spend because of oil and gas. This is pre-financial crisis, 2008, 2009. And I had no friends. I needed to make friends suddenly. So I went and got a job in a hotel, working as a waiter for weddings. Because we lived outside the city in a small house. The next neighbor was a 75-year-old dude living 5 miles away across fields. So if I was going to meet somebody my age, I had to go and find people.
Okay. And social networks wasn't there at that time.
It was MySpace and Bebo, but you know, it was a different time. So I remember my first job. I was a waiter in a 3-star hotel during weddings. Scottish weddings, everybody's wearing skirts, men, women, you don't know what's going on. We were just there during the wedding ceremony. At night, the bartenders come, they go behind the bar, and I was like, man, those guys are getting all the fucking girls. Look at them. They were, the guys were making vodka sodas, vodka orange screwdrivers, vodka sodas, Cuba Libres, but nobody called them that. Obviously, like, can I help? And they're like, no, dude, like, this is not Eastern Europe. Until you're 18, you're not going behind the bar. Can I collect glasses? Okay. So occasionally I was allowed to collect glasses for the guys. I really enjoyed the energy, the fun. And when I turned 18, I moved to the city to study in university, I immediately went to the busiest bar in the city. It's a 600 people capacity bar.
Okay, a big one.
14 stations. The guy in charge of the bar used to work at TGI Fridays, and we're talking when TGI Fridays in the UK was like really good training and really high volume and was like pow, but like mojitos, strawberry daiquiris, we're talking, those kind of drinks. No one is pretending we're going to be doing any classics or bullshit like that. And there was 2 cocktail stations, and that bar on a Saturday made £20,000. Back then, £20,000 was 40,000 euros. on one day.
Okay.
So that was a money machine. And you were working 12, 14-hour shifts for £6 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, with the exchange rate, that sounds very good. But, to give you an example, my rent, my rent was like £600 a month.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, you gotta work a lot. No, sorry, my rent was 550. Then my mobile phone was about 50. So you gotta work 100 hours just to pay your rent and your mobile phone. So it wasn't cheap. It wasn't like a high-paying job. The tips don't exist outside of the US, really. So
Really? Snow in England?
in London, but not in Scotland.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So basically, that was the start of it. That was kind of the situation. I worked in this place, and then back then was the beginning of the cocktail revolution, in a way. Outside.
What year was that?
So that was 2009 to 2011 that I was bartending in Scotland.
Okay, so you started at 2009 something. So after the crisis, yeah.
Well, the thing what happened was when I started bartending was 2009, 2008 bartending. The crisis was only really happening in the US. It took about a year to come to the UK. And because of the oil and gas was so strong in Scotland, it didn't hit Aberdeen until 2011.
Okay. Actually, I started the same year, I think 2008, also my career in bartending.
It's just the way it worked out. And so, very simple. I went into the busiest bar in the city. I said, I want a job. They said, look, show me your CV. There's nothing on the CV. Bar backing or waiter. He said, you're inexperienced. He's like, well, I can't bartend. I'm 18. I only just got the job. I said, how about this? You have 7 barbacks, because it's a very big place.
Uh-huh.
And you have a head barback. I will work for free until I'm better than your worst barback. And then you can make me a barback. And the guy looks at me and said, this is in Eastern Europe. I can't fire somebody in England, in the UK, just because you're better. That doesn't work here like this. I said, okay, well, I'll do a free shift. Maybe you like me, whatever. I did a free shift. I was quicker than the head barback. I pushed him off the main station, and I was cleaning glasses myself faster. And the guy came back, and he said, over at the end of the night, he said, cool, so same time tomorrow? And I said, are you going to pay me? He said, well, our trial shift is 2 days. I said, nah, dude, I've shown you what I can do. If you want me to come back tomorrow and work, you're going to have to hire me. And that's it. You're getting 1 free shift. He called me the next day. I think he was trying to be cheeky. He's trying to get...
It's like a bar. You did like a barback guest shift, the first one.
Barback, a free trial shift. Yes. Okay. I think he maybe was trying to say, I'm going to call him back and ask for the free shift. I didn't. He called me. I got the job. I was working barbacking for about 3 weeks. And then because there was a lot of Eastern Europeans in Aberdeen who didn't speak any English, and I spoke English. One day, these guys come and they're like Ukrainian, Belarusian, Russian, I think some Latvians, and they try to order whiskey, like expensive whiskey, but they can't really communicate. And I heard them speaking Russian, so I came over. I said, hey guys, blah, 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 which one would you like? This one, this one, this one. And I managed to sell a round of 180 pounds.
Okay.
Roughly. And my supervisor saw that, and he was like, this guy is more useful as a bartender than as a barback because he can make more money. And the next day, I was loud on the bar.
Okay, fast.
You know how it goes. It's just opportunity and trying to show yourself and use whatever skills you have.
Okay.
To get better. And that's it. That was me learning basic cocktails, basic round building, 3 foot deep, busy bar, sweating. Back when I was less fat, a bit better looking. And
maybe because you was working in more busy bars.
that probably is very, very true. And on my feet. So that was it. That was the beginning. I learned everything in Scotland. A very good community, lots of training. People are very passionate. Get very deep into knowledge. And the thing about the UK and Scotland is that you have to work and talk at the same time. This is why I talk so much, because people come to the bar, they want to talk to the bartender. You have to. And if you are too slow, the customers will make fun out of you. So you learn to get like a thick skin, to be able to take a joke, to be smart and funny yourself. And that's like the only way. If you don't do that, you're going to go home and cry every day. They're going to eat you alive. And so I think it's one of the best schools of bartending in the world, just fast, hard, badly paid. So you're a masochist and you have to know your shit. And that's it. I worked for 2 years in that bar, and it's one of the funnest times of my life. And additionally, the what's his name? The over there, I had my first ever cocktail competition. It was an in-house cocktail competition between the team.
Okay.
And I made a twist on a White Russian.
Okay. Very, very unexpected.
I made a twist on a White Russian. I made a drink called a White Scotsman because I had original ideas.
Okay.
And, I layered it. And I remember my supervisor saying to me, Dan, that's like a real cocktail competition drink. Like, that's mixology. And I was like, cool, what's mixology? And the guy who won just made a blue drink, so everybody wanted to drink that.
No, blue drinks always win.
And, but because he said this to me, I started entering cocktail competitions. I lost 23 competitions before I came third in my first ever cocktail competition. So if you're talking about it takes a long time, it takes a fucking long time.
Yeah.
Lots of pain, lots of spent money on costumes, on glassware, on expensive ingredients, time. But eventually I came third, and then I came like second, and then I won my first competition. It took 2 years to win my first competition. So
it was a Havana club or something, some other before that.
No. This was a small. It was a small French brand called Beer Quinquina. It's a super niche product.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an aromatized sweet wine thing.
Okay.
They had a local competition. The winner gets to go to the production. That was the prize. Okay. Nothing crazy. No money. No nothing. And that was my first win. And after that, I had a good year. This is 2012. I had a good year. I won 2 competitions, big ones. I became the UK champion of bowls around the world.
Sorry, what? Bowls around the world. Yeah.
Bowls around the world, 2012. I was the UK champion, and I go to Amsterdam for the final, which I fucked up. I cried. It was terrible. But that was like my first taste of international.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I want to come back and I want to again compete on a global level, and I want to win. Like, I want to win a global competition. Because during Bowls Around the World, I had the best time. Our year was like amazing. They were the nicest people. But unfortunately, in the final, my food pairing disappeared. We had to do a food pairing thing. Mm-hmm. And overnight, after cooking my food pairing disappeared. So I was really, really pissed off. So I lost. I was disqualified. And then my second big competition in 2012 was 42 Below World Cup. 42 Below is a New Zealand vodka owned by Bacardi. And back then they had a really cool global competition.
Okay.
The final was in New Zealand.
Wow, that's cool. That's exotic.
You got to go not as a single champion, but as a team.
Huh.
So Team Scotland won the wild card, and we were the wild card globally, and we got to go to New Zealand.
Wow, that's cool. How was that?
We came fourth, which nobody remembers anyone except number one, so it doesn't matter. But I remember we came fourth.
Exactly.
And it was an amazing trip. I met all the superstars that are now like major superstars.
Danil, it's not true that everybody remembers this number one from Havana Club competition. I don't know which was you. I know you got in top 15. I just remember, but I remember you. I don't remember who was the first one.
Funnily enough, I came fourth in Havana Club.
Okay, and I remember you. I even don't remember which country was the first one.
The first one was UK. He's now in Singapore in the Tippling Club.
Okay, maybe, but this is just somehow don't remember.
And then there was China, came third or second, I think. And third was, I think it was a guy from the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, but he's English. I remember him. I remember as well. But but first place, not really.
So I did well in some competitions. In a competition in New Zealand, Steve Schneider was the champion. Steve Schneider won. That's how I met Steve. And then in the finals was like Daniela Della Pola. He was at the finals. Michael Callahan, JJ Goodman. Like we had some absolute like rock stars who are now really influential people in the competition. I was the youngest person in the final, but that was when I met everybody, and that is where I learned what I believe is the greatest wisdom that somebody has ever taught me. And somebody said to me, it was, remember the film Lord of the Rings?
Honestly, I didn't see it. I see just first part, but didn't watch more.
It was shot in New Zealand, right? They went around, and there was mountains and shit, right?
Yeah.
So, as it turns out, the helicopter pilot that flew us onto a mountain was the same helicopter pilot who was flying the hobbits to the mountains during the filming.
Okay.
In his helicopter was a picture with Elijah Wood, like the actors. He had all the pictures in his cockpit. And he sat there with me and he was talking to me and he's like, "Where are you from?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "I'm from Russia." He's like, "Your English is very good." Blah, 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 blah. And he goes, "I'll tell you something. I've flown all day the other competitors, and everyone has a great personality." And he says, "I remember all of you." He said, "The number one, my piece of advice to you when you're surrounded by people who have a huge personality, or if you're in a competition or something like this," he said, "make sure that even if you don't win or anything like this, make sure that everybody remembers who you are. Like, make sure you make a connection, or at least try to make a connection with every single person in the room. Make sure you genuinely find something that you might have a conversation about, or find a way to talk and bond." And so I remembered that, and I've used it from this moment. You know, if I'm doing a job, if I'm doing a guest bartending, if I'm working on a stand, or if I'm judging a competition, I want to make sure every single person there, from the person who hired me to the competitors, I want to make sure that we get along, and I get to know who they are. 1 second.
Bless you. Double. Triple.
Not lying. There you go. Make sure they remember who you are. So without getting too much into it, because I've been going on for a long time, and this is only question one. I did well in 2012. I got into 2 global finals. Then I left Scotland and I moved to Amsterdam because one of my finalists from one of the competitions was opening a bar and invited me to move to Amsterdam.
Cool.
This bar is called Tales and Spirits. Nobody had heard of it at the time. I moved over. We opened the bar. I was part of the almost opening team. We did what we did. The 3 years I was in Tales and Spirits, we managed to I managed to work my way up to the role of head of cocktails and PR. In 2014, I had another good year. I won Havana Club and I met you and we went to Cuba. I also won Disaronno Mixing Star and I got to go to Tales of the Cocktail.
Oh, cool.
That was the prize. So that was I took a 2-year restart.
Start.
I worked my way up to a pretty high level in my bar. I started doing, because we managed to get into the top 50 best bars.
Really? Oh, wow. That's also amazing.
So when I left, Tales and Spirits was number 18.
That's great. That's really great.
And so the situation was, it was a really good, rise in my career. But Tales and Spirits was also a place where there was only 2 stations and there's only 35, 45 capacity.
Oh, very little.
Every single person worked everywhere. You worked one day on the floor, one day in the kitchen, helping the chef, fucking cleaning dishes. One day behind the bar. Tales and Spirits can make on a Saturday night 7,000 euros in a 45 capacity bar with only 2 bartenders.
Mm-hmm. It's not bad, I guess. I don't know what's in Amsterdam. Is that a lot? Because different city.
For what you have to think about is the operating hours, the average price of a drink, and the capacity. So that's the formula. So if you have 45 people capacity maximum in the summer, and your operating hours are between 5:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. on the weekdays, 3 a.m. on the weekends, you have 8 hours. You have up to 10 hours of trading, and the cheapest drink on our menu was 8.5 euros. So it wasn't expensive.
It wasn't expensive.
So the average spend was about 50 euros per person. That's a high average spend, right? So you have to think about how much people have to sit down. They have to have a couple of drinks. Then they're going to leave. How long they take to turn over tables. All of these things are factors that bartenders never think about, but are very important when running a business.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tales and Spirits taught me a lot about speed, efficiency, running a bar, all the capacities. It was a very good school. But also the problem is that we were working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. We were 6 hours, 6 days a week. And that sucks so bad. Because after 3 years, I became fatter, not because I was working less, but because I was unhealthy. I wasn't sleeping.
And so on.
I saved good money. I saved 15,000 euros over 3 years, but that's because I didn't have a private life. I didn't go anywhere. I had nothing to do. So at one point, I was creating the new menu, and I was doing a drink about Mexico, and I realized that I've never been to Mexico, ever, and I'm going on Wikipedia. And I'm just researching Mexico. Who gives a shit? Who? I don't know what it's like in Mexico. So how the fuck am I going to create a drink that's really Mexican? It makes no sense. It's like when people make a drink about Russia and they give the matryoshka. Oh, matryoshka. Yes, that's what we do every day. We beer. it's just it's yes, it's a stereotype and okay, but it's not. You're never going to create something authentic.
The real, yeah, exactly.
So I had a bit of a crisis, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm going to go see the world." And so the last competition I did for that bar, and the last competition I did properly was in 2016. It was the Martini Grand Prix.
Martini, okay.
That's where I met the world's most influential Lithuanian.
That's definitely.
I met Edvinas at the finals in Turin. We drank a lot. We joked around a lot. We became friends. I told him about me leaving the bar. He was working full time in Ireland and managing Cocktails for You. I knew about the platform, but I never really got into it. My social media game was not as good as it is today. We just carried on chatting, and I started my new project. I had a project that I developed called Vagabond, which is basically I was working for free for a month in a different bar in a different city around the world, and all I was asking for the opportunity to work 40 hours a week, a place to sleep, and food. Like, I didn't ask for anything else because
tickets, how you get there, you just
my own money, or sometimes they would help pay. The thing you have to understand is there's a couple, even if the bar I worked in was in the world's 50 best bars, I never won a global international competition. So maybe people knew me, but it's not like anybody really gave a shit. I didn't have a big social media. I worked in a famous bar, but I just left the famous bar. So, reputation was like, this is a good worker. He's cool. He knows his shit. He works in a good bar, so he must be good. But there wasn't any offers coming in or anything, So instead of waiting for something to happen, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go. I have money. I saved money because I was working too much. I'm going to spend it. And so instead of waiting for someone to invite me to some city, I was like, cool, I'll come and work for free. And so what happens is everybody loves free work, A. B, if you have a CV like mine, I've got into World's 50, everybody wants to have you. And even though people are spoiled, they don't want to spend money on anything.
Yeah, it's true.
What happens is when you are in a place longer than one day for a guest shift, you form real connections. So you go out drinking with the local bartenders, you go to their favorite bars, you go have a kebab with them, you form a real connection. So I ended up spending 18 months on the road. I spent all my money, like it was all gone. But I worked in some of the world's most interesting places. I worked in Norway, in Spain, in Hungary, in Kazakhstan, in Lebanon, in UAE, Dubai. I worked in the US twice, completely illegally. I worked in
Here is a lot of people doing that. It's nothing new.
I worked in Cyprus. I worked in Greece, and then I also worked in. Did I say Norway? So I worked in Norway.
You say the first one.
Well, there was one more I'm forgetting. Oh, I'm forgetting some sort of country. I don't remember. And then I was going to work for 1 month in Australia, but my appendix exploded.
Oh shit.
On a plane when I landed.
On a plane?
I had to in Kazakhstan, and so I had to spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks almost in hospital in Kazakhstan. And then because back then with a UK passport you can't stay longer than 21 days in a country like Kazakhstan, we had to drive to the border, cross the border into Kyrgyzstan, and then cross back to get a new stamp. And I at this time I had a hole in my stomach with a straw and a bag. Like I've done some weird shit, I've seen some weird crap, So that was like this huge project where I blew all my money. And while at the beginning of the project, I didn't meet. Eddie and me decided to work together in Cocktails for You. We became partners. And so the project was done alongside promoting Cocktails for You. And then suddenly Cocktails for You, towards the end of that project, we started making some money. We started getting invited, So I didn't die. And I guess I would say that project, that vagabond 18 months, was the turning point in my career, because by the end of the project, people were inviting me to come and work in their country, and brands were willing to pay for it, like without any promises. So in Lebanon, Bacardi paid for my Airbnb for 3 weeks for me to live there, and gave me some spending money to live on while I worked for free in one of their accounts.
Okay.
Because when you do something consistently and well over some time, people are going to hear about it. And for every person who wants to listen about this or is interested, if you want to become famous around the world, you can't wait for the world to come to you. Okay, you're in the coronavirus, so you can't really do much now.
Prepare, make a plan.
You need to go and see the world, and that's my only. That's it. That's what I did. And then next thing you know, we did Cocktails for You. Cocktails for You became massive. We started working on that. I moved to Spain after my project. I met my wife in Kazakhstan while I was dying.
She saved your life.
In a way, yeah, sure, yeah. Her uncle was my surgeon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There you go. And so we moved together to Spain, and then I was just working full time at Cocktails for You. And what's really funny is that I complain about working too hard, working too much. But last year in 2019, me and Eddie spent 270 days on the road.
Oh, he told me, yeah, that you spend guys a lot there. Yeah. That sounds impressive, really impressive.
No one has stopped working hard. And so this year and then last year I got into the list of top most influential at 90, I think. Yeah, okay. 90. So I was in the list last year, and I genuinely, in my description, it said famous for traveling and working around the world for free. So I guess that was the reason people found it. I've made lifelong friends all over the world because we actually spent time together and learned to bartend together.
Yes.
All of these connections are the reason that me and you are having a live stream, that people want to listen to what I say, that I have some followers somewhere. This is all because of just going out, talking to people, learning from them, listening to them, sharing ideas, sharing techniques. Sharing is like number one. That's it. That's my whole thing. And so that's how I've done what I've done. And that's how I am in some sort of fucking list. And I think that's the only reason anyone gives a shit about my life, is because for me, I guess I've done something that people find unique. That's about it. I have nothing. I can't think of a single good reason that anybody would want to hear my opinion about cocktails, because the only thing that I have is where I've gone and who I've communicated with. So I guess my superpower is communication. There you go. That's the answer to your first question. That only took 30 minutes.
It doesn't matter how much, how long. It was an interesting story and interesting journey, actually. And even I know you, I never knew full of it. I knew some parts of it, Evan was telling, but it was very great to hear all of the story. And of course, not just for me, and I believe for the people who will be watching this podcast anytime. Yeah, that's a great story. And Daniel, sorry?
I'm writing a book about it, which has all the terrible details.
Okay, that's good. That's good. When are you releasing your book? Let's
Well,
make it an
you
official deadline for yourself now
uh,
for the
the,
book.
the first draft of the book is finished. It featured the unique thing about this book is that it features 0 cocktail recipes.
Okay.
There's one cocktail recipe. There's a million books out there that talk about cocktail recipes, and I wanted to talk about life in the bar industry. Just my life, sure, I'm using my life as an example, but it's not about me, it's more about the people I met and things I learned.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. I'll be waiting for your book. All right, okay, Daniel. Can you tell me now, before moving to what you're doing now and what's your goal? Like, let's say to create what you're creating now. I would like to ask you the question about what do you think are the 3 most important features or things that separates good bartender from a great bartender? From, like, there are good bartenders and there are bartenders who are in influential list 100.
Let's just say, if we forget the list for a second,
Okay.
in my opinion, I want to paraphrase a very famous man who is no longer alive right now. It's the late great Sasha Petrasky.
Mm-hmm.
He said a very, very interesting. I can't find this interview anymore, but there is an interview of him somewhere online where he said something very amazing. He said, "It takes you a year to learn everything you need to learn about how to make cocktails, how to be a bartender. It takes you 2 years to be so good that you're the best you will ever be. So, like, to perfect. After that, how better you get is minuscule." But he says the one thing you can't teach people is character. And what is character? Character is bending over, opening the freezer for a mixing glass that's frozen, for example, in the freezer. Or just a glass, right? And you see that the glass in front is warm. It's been put in there recently. And it's going behind that glass and getting the frozen glass instead of taking the easy but warmer one first. That's character. Character is that's something you cannot teach. That's something you can inspire through fear. That's an Eastern European way.
Eastern European way.
You take the cold glass, I tell you. But that's something that you either have or you don't. So real bartenders, or I know good bartenders versus bad bartenders, it's just, do you listen?
No, Daniel, not good versus bad, because bad. I'm more interested into that. Good versus the great ones. Like.
Yeah, the 3 qualities that make you better.
Yeah, that separates good from the great.
What separates a better bartender, a great bartender, is number 1, the ability to listen to what the people are telling you. And because a lot of people misunderstand listening and waiting to speak. Some people, they talk to you and they're not listening to you. They're just waiting to speak for you to shut up so they can say what they want to say. So it's a one-way communication. So listening, number 1, learning to listen. Number 2, it's character. I already mentioned it. You need character. And character is like character discipline, right? That's it. And the last thing, I guess, it's the ability to speak, but only after you've listened and you have good character. That's the last thing that separates a great bartender from an average bartender.
Okay.
Technique, skill, knowledge, you can learn. You don't need that. That's not gonna make you great. You can become a great stirrer or a great shaker, and people remember you for stirring or shaking, but you will never make a guest's day or night or memory just because of the way you shook a drink. Very few people remember somebody for that. They remember them on Instagram for likes, but they don't remember them as a real person.
Okay.
So I would say learning to listen, having character, and learning to speak. And those I think this is the same way you said, at the beginning when I did the circle. You start here, you just make drinks, and then you learn technique, knowledge, and then you realize that the real magic is knowing what to say and knowing how to say it and having the character to do your job properly. And then you realize you're just making drinks, but you realize that you now need to go around and learn how to do it properly. That's it.
Great. Thank you for your answer. Okay, Daniel. So tell us now, what is your project? What are you now up to? What's your project in the bartender?
So I had this idea a while ago, and this is probably okay. Let me start again. Have you ever heard of the term indie bartender before?
Yeah. Before, no. I even when I read about in your I don't know, in Instagram at first or in website, when I saw that on some of your approach, I was thinking, okay, what's that? Indie, from India, like somehow thought, okay, maybe it's some kind, Daniel is crazy, so what is that? Let's see. Okay, it's a shortening of the word. Okay, but I would like to hear more about that.
Like indie music, right? Indie music is independent music. Indie bartenders, independent bartenders. Shortening of the word independent. But independent.
Okay. I didn't know that before. Now I know.
Independent doesn't sound sexy. Indie sounds a little bit cooler, Ooh, indie. So nobody heard of the term indie bartender. And I would say 6 years ago, nobody heard of the term influencer. It didn't exist. Influencer was not a job or anything like this. So I took all my knowledge before in my life, and I came to this idea that a bartender, an indie bartender, can be a possible career path for bartenders. Mm-hmm. Let me explain. At the moment, you have 3 directions where you can go. You can become a brand ambassador, work for corporate. You can become stay in operations, so manager, general manager, F&B, bar owner, or you can become a consultant. Now, this is basically the 3 directions a bartender can go. Mm-hmm. I know brand ambassadors that hate their job. I know bar owners that hate their bars. And I know consultants that can't pay for anything. I also know some that are very successful, and we have no idea how. I believe now, in the modern time, there is an opportunity, thanks to the internet and thanks to knowledge and everyone getting better, for a new career path, a 4th path, called the independent bartender. And the business model is very simple. Some people, after a certain amount of time, if they've had success, they gain a certain level of influence, hence the influential list. People will listen to them. They might have even bars. They might even have a brand, whatever. They have become famous in some areas. Mm-hmm. What if that bartender wanted financial stability and then wanted to still be creative? They don't want to just work with one brand, like a brand ambassador, for the rest of their life. They want to work with many brands because they don't like just rum or just vodka. They like maybe rum, vodka, gin, tequila, whatever. They have multiple.
Long Island.
There you go, right? So they have multiple interests. And they want to do more than just travel in one country or one region. So how do we combine the creativity and the financial stability so you can still pay your bills and pay your rent and earn a living? And so I've created a business model, which means that, okay, you are an independent person. You have some money. You've saved some money in your life. You've been bartending for 10, 12, 15 years. You have a reputation. You want to do interesting projects. You have a million ideas, but you don't know how to do them without, spending your own money. You want to be able to do that. Then there's brands, independent brands, small brands that might want to do cool projects, but they don't know with who. They don't know how. They can't afford a brand ambassador, like a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, afford you for 1 or 2 or 3 cool guest shifts or something a year. So why not create a model where the independent bartender writes a brand plan for 12 months, like a proper professional plan for himself, where I'm going to go, what content I'm going to create, what guest shifts I'm going to do, like a full 12-month plan of activations in advance and digital content. And then the independent bartender invests some money. For example, I invested 25,000 euros into the project, into myself as an independent bartender, and I invested that money. And so I wrote this plan for 12 months. Thank you, coronavirus, you fucked it up. But I wrote this plan, and then I went to brands that can't afford a full-time brand ambassador. I said, cool, I invested 25,000. I'm going to do this. So this is going to happen if you like it or you don't. I'm going to do this. But you can be my partner for all of this for the same amount of money as I'm investing. So you're not a sponsor, you're a partner in the project.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are my vodka partner or my gin partner or whatever. I only work with brands that I know, I like, I respect. So I'm not going to feel embarrassed about working with them, and so the brands you work with have to represent your individual, independent opinion. I don't drink mezcal. I don't like mezcal. That doesn't mean I will never visit a mezcal distillery, but you will never see me promoting a mezcal brand because I don't like it. Why would I pretend to? Because then my reputation is shit. No one wants to believe me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
I got the idea. Yeah, it's true. That's a true way to go, I guess.
It's very simple. I wrote a 12-month plan. I financed it myself. I found partners that were like, yeah, we want to work with you. Once the coronavirus goes up, we're going to match the investment and we're going to become partners in this project. And so that's all I'm waiting for. And then we're going to do travel around the world, documenting everything, vlogging, creating digital content, talking about my projects, working with brands that I believe and trust and that are honest and match my principles. Brands that are match who I am. You're never really going to see me walk around in a kilt with, Diageo like this, beautiful, because it's just not me. So I'm not going to pretend to be anyone I'm not. So that's how it is. And brands are like, cool, you match our style, you have interesting content, you have good ideas, and you are putting the money in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And after coronavirus, that's going to become important because their brands are going to be like, okay, well, why do I want to invest in this person or that person when, what's my return? But if they're investing with me, that's much more an interesting opportunity. And also gives them insurance that I am going to do what I said I'm going to do, because if I don't, I am losing my own money.
Okay.
Not money.
That's cool. That's interesting. Now I can't react like so much because I'm thinking, about this thing.
Imagine the situation. I call you and I go, I want to do a guest shift in Miami. And you're like, well, cool. And then I'm like, I'm going to fly myself over. You just get me a hotel or some shit. I'll work in your bar. I'll bring my own alcohol. I'll bring my own menus, and we'll make content. We don't need to ask permission from anyone except the owner of the bar.
Yes, true.
That's it. There's no bureaucracy. You don't need to ask a million people. Alcohol's provided. You don't need to try and find money to fly someone over. the bar owner's like, cool, some guy who's influential in some list is going to come, make content, and what do I have to do? Oh, get him a hotel and feed him so he doesn't spend his own money when he's in Miami. Oh, so I give him like $500 so he can go party for a couple of days and then get him a hotel for 3 days? That's nothing compared to, trying to find speaker fees or stuff like that. And so there you go. That gives me the freedom to do things without going through the problems of loopholes and all these bureaucracy of brands and guidelines. I bring my own alcohol so that the bar doesn't lose anything with alcohol. The bar gets to meet brands that they might have never met before, and it's genuine, it's authentic. I'm not, it's a mutual agreement and a mutual level sort of exchange. And
okay, interesting.
There's freedom. We get to do creative shit. Nobody can tell us what to do. We can just arrange it, and that means that I combine financial stability with creativity. The moment you stop being creative is the moment independent bartender. Well, you as an independent bartender will stop being an independent bartender because you've run out of ideas. And so my ambition is to prove to the world in the first year that it's possible. All the money I'm investing, I'm writing a P&L, a profit and loss, that I'm going to make public after 12 months. How much money I put in, how much money I made. So I'm going to prove to the world that it's possible. Number two, I'm going to then, all the mistakes I made, because everyone makes mistakes, all the mistakes I made, I'm going to create a system that's more clean, more efficient. And my third year, I want to start recruiting other independent bartenders to work for my company, the Independent Bartender Company. I want to help other bartenders become independent bartenders. I want to help them. I want to teach them the skills, the marketing skills, the digital content skills, the whatever it is they need to do what I do. And if they need help finding brands to match them, I want to help for that to happen. My ambition is in 5 years, the independent bartender, or if you meet some person, you go, hey, Bob, what do you do? He's like, I'm an independent bartender. And you'll be like, fuck, okay, cool. I know what that is. Yeah, all right. What brands do you work with? Like, what's your project? What are you up to? And that, I think that's A, much more interesting, and B, it's more democratic. That means that smaller brands are going to have the opportunity to be more globally awareness and engagement and get to do more. And then we'll get to do things that maybe no one else will ever fund. For example, I want to do a documentary about where we get our fruit. The lime that you get in your bar, you just call a fruit guy and you go, hey, bring me some limes. How about we reverse that story and find the farmer who grew that lime and figure out how, what's their story? How long did that lime take? How long did it I know it's a very boring, maybe niche subject, but I think it is more interesting than watching 50 million cocktails made in someone's apartment in New York City based on red or awesome pumpkin spice or the same shit we see every single fucking year. For me, I'd rather watch this. I'm not gonna do a live documentary every fucking day, but I think it's more interesting for me than the same stuff in a blender every single month. It's tequila week. Ooh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. Everything, I guess, it's not that it's boring, you say, but it depends how you present it, because every topic could be presenting in two ways, of boring or entertaining. And this is, I guess, already a lot of about storytelling and directing. It's more not bartending, more like movie creation, like skills that comes into play to make like this happen, Horror story about how limes come, like you change the music.
Here's the thing, Here's the thing. If you ask any adult person, some of the best nights of their life always, most of the time, started with an alcoholic drink. You know,
True.
no one has a story which doesn't involve alcohol, the world's most popular drug. No one really has an epic story that doesn't involve alcohol, and yet we spend so much time talking about food, which I love. I'm fat. I love food, and food is culture, and food is important for sure, of course. But I think drink is equally as important, and in fact, if not more important, in the history of human beings than food.
Definitely.
And
this times definitely, I could say.
nobody talks about that because it's taboo and it's promoting back. It's not taboo if you teach your kids properly. No one's gonna watch my documentary about limes where I'm maybe drinking daiquiris or margaritas while finding this lime farmer, and suddenly gonna go and drink 5 bottles of tequila. If they're gonna go drink 5 bottles of tequila, that means they're already an alcoholic and they have mental issues. Right? It's nothing to do with my journey to the lime farmer. And so I think there, all the cool stories I know all talk about, I don't know anyone who goes to their friends when they want to go on a stag party and go, let's go to Italian countryside and make pesto. Yeah, pesto. Ooh, we're all gonna make some pesto.
It depends if the naked chef, Italian chef, is teaching them. Maybe it's a cool party as well.
Okay, and they're never gonna drink wine. They're never gonna drink wine. They're never gonna go run through the fucking place into a pool, into a thing. They're never gonna go out. They're just gonna make pesto for 2 weeks every fucking day, mornings when they get up, and before night, just that last little dot, and gonna eat pesto. No, they're gonna go out. Pesto is not what they're going to fucking Italy for. They're going for wine, the sun, and looking at hot chicks. Pesto? No one does that. Las Vegas is not. People go there to gamble and to drink and to see weird shows in between gambling and drinking. I'm not even going to talk about the drugs, but that's the whole thing. And so for me, I love our job. I love our industry, and the Indie Bartender is just part of this bigger thing that I want to highlight about and make everyone in our industry have a better time. Small brands, small bartenders from all over the world. That's why now, if you go to my website, you can find a section which says tools.
I've been.
Free tools available to anyone that are going to start covering actual useful elements of the industry, not just here is a book about the white lady. We're talking about shit that you can use to get your career to the next level. I'm working with some people on a profit and loss template. I'm working on how to cost a menu temp. I want to provide those tools. I want to teach people how personal branding, digital strategy, specifically in our industry, not anything else, our industry, because then everyone gets better. Everyone has the ability to use them to get better. And of course, the only people that are going to get better and become great bartenders are those people with the ability to listen to these kind of podcasts, to have the character to then go to my website, download my tools, actually read them, listen to them, and then speak, but basically act on the on what's given to them and use those tools to get better. Essentially, you could even go back to my first answer. I said, listen, character, and speak. But you could even change that to analyze, think, and act. Analyze and think are, look at something and don't just go, cool, it's a glass. You're like, okay, it's a glass. How many centimeters? How much volume? Da 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 da. Think about it. Actually stop and think, okay, what cocktail am I going to make in this glass? How much ice is going to go in this glass? How much liquid volume is left after the ice in there? What drink is going to go in it? And only then start making the cocktail that goes in the glass. it sounds so stupid because it's so simple, but sometimes it's much harder to do simple things than complicated things.
That's true. That's true.
I'll
That's
keep it
true. Daniel, thank you for these answers. And tell me, what's your vision in 10 years for yourself and in this industry, I guess? I mean, we're not talking about all life. We're talking about more about professional path. What's your vision in 10 years to have, like you said, in 1, 2, 3 years? And what's your vision in like 10 years?
Okay.
For yourself, for Indie Bartender, for yourself, I mean.
My vision is that there will be at least 20 indie bartenders around the world. There'll be an indie bartender in every continent working for my company, and I will be helping those people get better. And I will use whatever experience that I have gained in my life to help others achieve their goals. I want to build like a community with shared values. And because I don't expect myself to become a millionaire, I don't have this dream of owning a super yacht and a massive house and drink champagne every day. This is not a dream for me. I get bored of this. For me, if I have a house that is comfortable and I can eat, if I have the money that I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want, and I don't have I'm not a high maintenance person, then I'm happy, right? But I don't want to, for me, my dream is that I have a company which makes me enough money that I can have my own house and my family is okay. And so that company will be the Independent Bartender company. I want to have a bunch of guys and girls working in my community who have their own dreams, own real dreams, not silly super million dreams. I want people who have dreams that are achievable, like a house or a car or whatever, right? And I want to help them get there and use whatever skills I have to make those dreams happen. I want an indie bartender in every single continent, because if the indie bartender is in every single continent, that means I cover the whole world. And I want to use that team to build good communities and help the industry in a real way globally. So small brands that are made by good people that are maybe and they're making a good product, cool. You want to join the Independent Bartender company, we can have Independent Bartender spirits. That's all part of it, because all of these things take time. I would love to make my own tequila. I would love to make my own gin, my own rum. Any bartender who's never thought I'd hate to make my own spirit. For me, really, like, you must have fantasized about making something like that your own at some point in your life. Bartenders are creatives. So you must have fantasized about something. Of course, and but I also know that I have a limited amount of time, and I'm not Iron Man. I'm more like a doughy fat man. So professionally, independent bartenders all over the world in every continent. I have my clan. I have my team. We all work under the same values. We all work towards the same goals, where everyone is hopefully happy and is achieving their goals. And after that, if that goes well, all I want is a small cafe, French-style bistro cafe, and next to it, I want a fruit and vegetable shop.
Oh.
So that I have a fruit and vegetable shop where I sell fruit and vegetables from local farms that are good quality. And before they get thrown away or they go off, I can make them into jams, into pickles, into whatever, sell them at my cafe, sell them at the deli, very simple coffees, teas, very simple drinks, nothing complicated. And then if that goes well, maybe have my own farm where I can grow my own fruit and vegetables and whatever. And then if that goes well, that's what I want, those three things, because then I have a small ecosystem. I'm self-sufficient in a way. And then if that goes well, the only thing I would ever want is I would want to maybe have a cocktail bar that's open 2 days a week. where I am behind the bar.
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, cocktail bar that's open 2 days a week. Probably Saturday, Sunday. Saturday for normal people, for consumers, and Sunday for bartenders. So I cover both. I'm like, and I want to make the drinks that I want to make. I don't care if they're classics or fermented fucking toilet. I don't, whatever the fuck I want to make, I make in that bar. And I only work 2 days a week, so I work at my own pleasure. I make the drinks I want to make, and we have a good time, and that's it. That would be my ultimate dream. Farm, fruit shop, little cafe that runs, that I'm not even running, and a little bar that's like, I'm the only person working there.
Where do you want to have all of that? Or you don't know yet?
I can imagine it being in Barcelona at the moment.
Barcelona. Okay.
Good place.
Yeah, been once. Not very long, for half day, I guess. But it's nice. Would like to come back, and definitely will visit you if I come back there in your bar. I should plan. Then I should plan to be there on Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, Daniel. So thank you very much. It was very interesting to hear all your story and all your dreams and plans, and it was very interesting. It made me think a lot, of what I'm doing, and what I am having, what dreams, what like goals I'm having. So I think that we might have some things in common. So in future time, I guess we will have probably we might have more talk or more some maybe some projects. We'll see. So
I'm always open to anybody watching this. You can always reach out to me. I generally am a very person and relaxed. I like talking to people. I can talk forever. I have a million stories and a million anecdotes, and I can get very, very sweary. So don't forget, don't be afraid to reach out. And if you want to have any more questions about the Independent Bartender, you can always visit the website.
I will put. Just wanted to say that I will put all the contacts of you and Indie Bartender in the description after the video. So it will be there. So just go there and check, and how to reach Daniel. It will be easier for you than to Google.
No worries.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you everybody who watching this podcast. And this podcast is created to inspire you, and I'm trying to keep them going every Wednesday. With some exceptions, but I have a dream and a goal to keep going. So I believe it will be like that for the future. And thank you very much, Daniel, for being my guest. It was an honor. It was like really interesting to hear your past story and your future story, because now we covered everything, past, today, and the future. Actually, very.
We thought about it, and now we're gonna act.
yeah, exactly. So it was, it's cool. A very cool and very good idea, because I'm always inspired by trips and journeys myself. So hearing that and knowing all your like everything really plays well, and I love to hear that. And thank you very much, Daniel, for being my guest, for taking your time. I hope it was a good time for you as it was for me. And I. Okay, so it was because you got a chance to talk and to drink rum, so it's good. As you say, you like to talk.
No,
all right, so thank you very much. And if you be in Miami, like we met the last time, exactly before the pandemic, actually. So when you will be again, so don't forget I'm here. Just give me some sign. We will meet for a cocktail, for something. It would be very cool.
Thank you for having me, and peace out.
Okay, bye everybody.